You're reciting it, right? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So we are reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 5, Text 33. Please repeat after me. Amyoyascha bhutanam.
Amyojascha bhutanam.
Jayate yena suvrata.
Jayate yena suvrata.
Tad evahyamyam dravyam.
Tat evahyamyam dravyam.
Na punati chikitsitam.
Na punati chikistitam.
Amyoyascha bhutanam.
Amyojascha bhutanam.
Jayate yena suvrata.
Jayate yena suvrata.
Tat evahyamyam dravyam.
Tat evahyamyam dravyam.
Na punati chikitsitam.
Na punati chikistitam.
Amyoyascha bhutanam.
Amyojascha bhutanam.
Jayate yena suvrata.
Jayate yena suvrata.
Tat evahyamyam dravyam.
Tat evahyamyam dravyam.
Na punati chikitsitam.
Na punati chikistitam.
Amyoyascha bhutanam.
Amyojascha bhutanam.
Jayate yena suvrata.
Jayate yena suvrata.
Tat evahi amayam dravyam.
Tad evahyamyam dravyam.
Na punati chikitsitam.
Na punati chikistitam. Amyoyascha
Amyoyascha
bhutanam. Jayate yena svattara.
Jayate yena suvrata.
Tad evahyamyam dravyam.
Tad evahyamyam dravyam.
Na punati chikistitam.
Na punati chikitsitam. Amaya,
Amaya.
diseases.
Diseases.
Yacha,
Yacha.
whatever.
Whatever.
Bhutanam,
Bhutanam.
of the living being.
Of the living being.
Jayate,
Jayate.
become possible.
Become possible.
Yena,
Yena.
by the agency.
By the agency.
Suvrata,
Suvrata.
O good soul.
O good soul.
Tat,
That.
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 Eva,
Eva.
very.
Very.
He,
He.
certainly.
Certainly.
Amyam,
Amyam.
disease.
Disease.
Dravyam,
Dravyam.
thing.
Thing.
Na,
Na.
does it not.
Does it not.
Punati,
Punati.
cure.
Cure.
Chikitsitam,
Chikitsitam.
treated with.
Treated.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Swami Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
O good soul, does not a thing applied therapeutically cure a disease which was caused by that very same thing? Purport. An expert physician treats his patient with a therapeutic diet. For example, Milk preparation sometimes caused disorder of the bowels, but the very same milk converted into yogurt and mixed with some other remedial ingredients cured such disorders. Similarly, the threefold miseries of material existence cannot be mitigated simply by material activities. Such activities have to be spiritualized, just as by fire iron is made red hot, and thereby the action of fire begins. Similarly, the material conception of a thing at once changed as soon as it is put into the service of the Lord. That is the secret of spiritual success. We should not try to lord it over the material nature, nor should we reject material things. The best way to make the best use of a bargain is to use everything in relation with the supreme spiritual being. Everything is an emanation from the Supreme Spirit, and by His inconceivable power, He can convert spirit into matter and matter into spirit. Therefore, a material thing, so-called, is at once turned into a spiritual force by the great will of the Lord. The necessary condition for such a change is to employ the so-called matter in the service of the spirit. That is the way to treat our material diseases and elevate ourselves to the spiritual plane where there is no misery, no lamentation, and no fear. When everything is thus employed in the service of the Lord, we can experience that there is nothing except the Supreme Brahman. The Vedic mantra that everything is Brahman is thus realized by us. Let's all recite Mangacharan prayers together. Om Jnanantirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakavitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyayevcha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So for those of you all who have come in a little bit later and don't know where we are on Canto 1, Chapter 5 and text number 33. So, can anybody tell me what is the common word? There is a common word in the shloka, in this verse, text number 33 and 32. What is that common word? There is one word which is common in both of them. Can you figure that one out? My son would have loved that game.
Chikitsatam?
Yes, that is perfect. The word is chikitsitam. And the translation, the meaning of that word is, it is a treatment. Right? Yesterday we were discussing chikitsitam. So it came in the last verse, chikitsitam, and it means it's a treatment. And treatment, we take treatment when someone is diseased. So yesterday we realized we have to understand that we are diseased, and it's only one that will take the medicine. right? Unless we realize that we are diseased, we won't take the medicine, right? If I today ask you, you have to take Panadol Rapid, the tablet, you'll be like, oh, why should I take it for? I'm absolutely fine. So unless and until we understand that we are in a disease state, and we understand that we're not trying to lord it over, that's when we'll be ready for a treatment. So this treatment is a continuation of last verse. Nārada Muni gives us a wonderful solution in last verse, and this treatment is a continuation. You know how doctors sometimes, so Nārada Muni is a doctor, right? How doctors sometimes will give you the treatment and say, okay, you're meant to be doing this, this and this is going to be helpful, but then you'll also be meant to be doing this, this and this. In your diet, you're meant to be doing this, you're meant to be going for a walk, do some yoga. So similarly, Nārada Muni is giving us a whole treatment, a whole picture of what we should be doing in our spiritual life. Actually, when I read this verse, it reminded me of a famous Albert Einstein quote, which says, no problem can be solved with the same level of consciousness that created it. Okay, I'll repeat that. No problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it. So again, Srila Prabhupada in the purport over here is trying to say, an expert physician treats his patient with a therapeutic diet, but milk preparation sometimes cause disorder to the bowels, but the very same milk converted into yogurt and mixed with some other remedial ingredients cures such disorders. Okay? The same milk can cause those bowel movement problems, but the same yogurt can help us treat those bowel movements. So it's the same thing, but it's just converted. So similarly, a change in consciousness is required to actually find a solution to any problem. There is, when Srila Prabhupada was in Calcutta, I'm talking about back in the day when he was married, he was a Grihastha, World War II was going on. And during those World War II, there were a lot of bombings that were happening, and the bombs from the Japan. And those bombs were getting dropped in Calcutta, back then when Srila Prabhupada was. So everywhere the bombs were going on and the announcements were being made. The announcements were, everybody needs to take some sort of shelter, everybody needs to go underground, come on, take shelter, be quick, because the bombs were getting dropped. And what was Srila Prabhupada doing in those moments? Yes, he was frying puris. Srila Prabhupada was frying puris, and everyone was like, Abhay, this is his name before, he took sannyas. Abhay, you got to take shelter, just go underground, the bombs are getting dropped everywhere. And Srila Prabhupada said, but I'm frying puris. So we can see that Srila Prabhupada was not afraid. He took that as a thing that is happening from Krishna, and he was frying puris, and he said, when the bombs are being dropped, and that is again coming from Krishna, so I have to be ready with puris to serve them. So he was frying puris, right? So this, it takes us back to the bhajan which Srila Prabhupada used to often sing. Bhaja Udhe Man. If you know, sing it along with me. Abhaya Charanara Vindare Dulava Madhava Janasa Sanghe Karaho Eva Sindhure. So, oh mind, just worship the lotus feet of the son of Nanda, which makes one fearless. So Srila Prabhupada was fearless. And he was fearless because he understood that he has taken this rare human birth, and in this rare human birth, he'll be able to cross over this world of nescience. Why? Because he was in association of the saintly persons. This is what this bhajan exactly means. So similarly, right now, in this moment as well, who's telling us this shloka, who's giving us the remedy? Nārada Muni. We are in association of Nārada Muni. Right? We are in association of Vyasadeva, who is asking the question. We are in association of Srila Prabhupada, who is with us through his purpose. And we are in association with Lord Shri Krishna himself, who is non-different from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So just imagine right now, in this forum, we are seated with Srila Nārada Muni, Srila Vyasadeva, Srila Prabhupada, and Lord Shri Krishna himself. They are present in this association. And that if we are present with them, then we become fearless, because they are going to be there with us, isn't it? But if we think, even in this association, if we are not fearless, what does that mean? There's only one thing that can stop us from being fearless, and that is our senses. When we cannot control our senses, that's the only thing that can stop us from becoming fearless. Right? So we have to watch out that space. So by taking shelter of Lord Sri Krishna, by of these saintly saints, we become extremely fearless. And then the miseries that they are talking about in the last text and this text about the threefold miseries, Adhyatmic, Adibhautik, Adidevic, miseries caused by people, body, mind, natural calamities, right? All those problems, all those miseries will no longer be having that effect on us, because internally our consciousness will be raised and will be much more at peace, because we are fearless. So we have to constantly think that we are in association of all these saintly people. So Srila Prabhupada talks about threefold miseries in both of these texts. So I'll just quickly touch on that. So we just spoke about the bombings that are happening, that is the miseries that are caused by other people. Now let's look at Adhyatmic, which is miseries caused by one's own body. If you haven't heard about His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, he was an epitome of love. He has given so much love to the devotees, and that was his aim. Anyone he would meet, he would just pour that love on that person. So in his, he was struggling with the cancer, very rare blood cancer, I think, if I'm not wrong, skin cancer. Now in his book, during his final days, I think it was his book Die Before Dying or The Beggar, one of those books. I was reading that last year when I was in Vrindavan, and I could not find the exact article, but what I remember is, so he had those cancer cells in him, and he was thanking those cancer cells. So in his article he says, I thank you, dear cancer cells. And he was saying, either you are going to leave me first or I'm going to leave you first. Either ways we'll be going back to Godhead. So he was preaching to the cancer cells. In that condition, he was preaching to the cancer cells. Now, I cannot even imagine how does a person gets that consciousness that you can actually preach to the cancer cells. Like just imagine you're coughing, you can actually preach to the virus. Right? So you're not alone. Even in those moments, the preaching can go on. And that is the magic of Srila Prabhupada's moment. The preaching should never stop, even when you are not feeling well. Like Bhakti Tirtha Swami. He was preaching to the cancer cells, and he was grateful to the cancer cells for giving him that sort of realization. So what kind of people are these who can actually think on that level? They are people who are in this world, but they don't belong to this world. They are in this world, but they're out of this world. Right? So, yes, we live in Australia, which is a very safe place. We won't have bombings happening. I mean, it's safe to say the bombings won't happen. Yes, we at the moment may not have any sort of serious health issues going on with us, like Bhakti Tirtha Swami. We don't have that. But most of the problems that we face are the problems that occur in our mind. It's all mental problems that we go through. Have you heard about Chaitanya Charan Prabhu? So Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, when he was 5 years of age, he is intellectually, obviously, he's at a very high level, right? He can memorize things like that. If you've heard him speaking, he just speaks at another level. He can dissect every little thing. So when he was 5 years of age, back in Pune, Maharashtra, there was a Bhagavad Gita recitation competition. So he recited all that. So he didn't have any background of Bhagavad Gita or devotee associate. He didn't have any of that. But he was able to memorize all the shlokas of Bhagavad Gita at the age of 5. And he was very happy and excited. Happy that he was able to memorize so many shlokas, and excited as well. And he was a bit nervous that he has to present those shlokas in front of everybody. So he was going through those mixed feelings. He was able to do that, and 15 years passed by, right? He was able to do that. He left Bhagavad Gita. There was no connection with Bhagavad Gita again. He left it, and 15 years passed by. He was in the engineering college, and eventually he became the topper in the whole of Maharashtra region, which is a big deal. He got a very big score. He was the topper in engineering in some sort of electronics and telecommunications field. It was amazing. Now in that moment when he became the topper and he found the result, he realized that he wasn't happy. He became happy only when someone congratulated him. So when someone said congratulations, it's only in that moment he realized he's happy. Otherwise he was not happy. When someone didn't congratulate him, he was feeling miserable. Why is someone not congratulating him? Right? When we do something good, we expect the same thing. We expect some sort of feedback, nice feedback. Otherwise we feel miserable. Oh, I've done everything so perfectly, but why is it that someone is not correct? So he felt miserable. And in those moments, so he left Bhagavad Gita, but Bhagavad Gita never left him. In those moments, he realized that to be able to be happy, I cannot be relying on external sources. I have to be relying on something internal. I cannot be relying on people around me, because happiness is within. And when he was thinking about that, he started pondering, which means there is more to life. There is a deeper meaning to life. And then he picked up Bhagavad Gita again. So Bhagavad Gita, though he recited at the age of 5, it was subconsciously ingrained in his mind. And then 15 years forward, he was able to get back to Bhagavad Gita and he was able to connect to it. And he was able to get a meaning to his life. So like I was telling you, most of the problems occur in the mind. You know, and when the heart is ready for wisdom, what happens? Wisdom finds its way. We can see that through this story. I was speaking to someone yesterday. I had a lengthy chat with her, and she was telling me how she was going through a very terrible condition in her life, not so nice condition. And when the center opened, when Brisbane Bhakti Yoga, the center opened, she very firmly thinks that this center, Krishna has opened this center only for her. That's what she thinks. And I was blown away with her, the way she was thinking. She said, this center, Krishna loves me so much that this center has come into existence only to get me out of that miserable state. So when your heart is ready to accept the wisdom, you know, wisdom finds its way there. So we have to make our hearts so fertile that when we are reading Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, we are able to plant those seeds. We are able to, you know, water that plant, the Bhakti Lata Beej. We are able to do that, and then the plant will grow. So whatever problems we have in our life, there'll always be people who will suggest different solutions, right? When I was pregnant, I remember, you know, when you become pregnant, every other pregnant lady, every other person who has delivered a child will give you some free piece of advice. That is a must. Do this, eat this, do that kind of exercise, don't eat this, etc., etc. That person did that, and my story is this. Every woman has to do that. So similarly in life also, when we have problems, every person will have a solution. And just to satisfy, sometimes we accept those solutions. Just to satisfy those people, or my mom is saying that, my friends are saying that, the whole world is saying that, let me just accept it. We accept the solution doesn't work, and what do those people then say again? I always knew this is not going to work for you. I told you this is not going to work, and you still went ahead with it. So just to please, sometimes we tell people, we accept those solutions. But if we are a spiritualist, we have to understand, we won't be the popular choice. We won't have the popularity. That won't be the popular option. We have to accept. Not everyone is going to give us a spiritual solution. I'll tell you a little thing that is happening in my life currently. I've got a friend back in India. The problem is still on, and hopefully it will get solved one day, but he's struggling with the problem of gambling. Like gambling in terms of in share market, in the stock markets. When everything was going well, the family didn't cause any issues, no problems, family was happy. When everything is, you know, you're minting money without any effort, everyone was happy. The problem started when there were losses. Obviously there were losses, and huge losses, so much to an extent that the person has taken a loan, and there's so many big loans, and the wife has gone away, etc. So there's a big drama happening. Anyways, now everyone is trying to give him a short-term solution to the problem. Right? Now when we study these scriptures, we realize that we have to give him a solution for the soul, not just for the body. Because if I give him a solution for the body, it's going to be very temporary in nature. So I did nothing, but I started messaging him. I sent him an article by Chaitanya Prabhu, which is very scientific, on gambling, investing in mutual funds. He was blown away. He sent me, and then I told him, it was a big article, so I told him, read it and tell me what do you learn from this. So he sent me a few points back. And then I sent him another thing, you know, Russell, what's his last name? Russell Brand. Yes, Russell Brand. You know, he gave up his addiction of drug addiction by chanting Hare Krishna. So he gave up everything because he got into chanting of Hare Krishna. He read that article, then he messages me back. So does this mean I don't have to give up my addiction but only direct the subject of my addiction from share market to the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Now this guy starts to think. He started thinking because helplessness is such a state that he was an atheist person. He called himself that. Helplessness is such a state that you have nowhere else to go. All you do is rely on God, the Lord Himself, right? Because that's the only option that you have. And he asked me that question. So I don't have to give up addiction. I'll have to addict myself to the mantra. And then he started asking me all those questions about Maha Mantra. The point is, spiritual solutions are always the best solutions because they're long-term and they're thinking about our souls. And over here we can see Nārada Muni is providing us a spiritual solution to all the problems, to the threefold miseries of our life. So that's a very important point, that we have to keep Krishna in the very center. And that won't be a popular option, popular choice. But we still have to do that. Like it is said in Bhagavad Gita, text 18, chapter 18, text 58, if you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. I'll repeat that. If you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. If, however, you do not work in such consciousness, but act through false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost. So if we don't want to be lost, we have to listen to the solution that Nārada Muni is giving here. He's trying to provide us a treatment. And then we can guide our consciousness. You know, like yesterday I was telling in the class, that problems will always be there, but the water needs to keep flowing even when a stone is there. What's going to happen is eventually the stone will disappear because the water keeps flowing. The stone will dissolve. So similarly, we have to keep doing our dharma. We have to the water needs to keep flowing. The water needs to find a way of service. That is our flow. That is our dharma. We have to keep serving. So when the water is continuously serving, the problems, the little miseries in our life, they will dissolve, they will disappear, because we start to look at the situation from a very different perspective. I'll give you a simple example of Radhanath Swami. It's a beautiful, beautiful pastime, and I was so able to connect to it. So this is his, back in 1970s, Radhanath Swami spent a lot of his time in the jungles, and he used to eat only when, he used to beg, and whatever he got, he used to eat that. And then after that he met Srila Prabhupada, and then one time he went and started living in a farmhouse, which was a very old, worn out farmhouse, 150 years old, with other devotees. So he was living in this farmhouse, and for dinner they used to only have popcorn. That was their dinner. So, sorry, I said it too quickly. So he used to live in the jungle, he used to beg, he used to eat. Then he met Srila Prabhupada. Then he started living with devotees in a farmhouse, which was completely old, 150-year-old, and he was eating popcorn. One day, so he used to sleep on the floor. One day he tells his godbrothers, I'm leaving this place. And the godbrothers are like, oh, why do you want to leave this place? He said, can anybody guess what did he say? Why was he leaving that place? He said, there's too much of sensual enjoyment in this place. Everyone was like, are you mad? What kind of sensual enjoyment is here? We are sleeping on the floor. We are eating popcorn for dinner. And this is a 150-year-old worn out farmhouse. Why do you think this is sensual enjoyment? You're lying. There is some other reason. To which Radhanath Swami said, no, there is no other reason. This is the only reason. There is too much sensual enjoyment. I'm going to leave this place. Can you think and tell me, how is that place a sensual enjoyment? Come on.
Not begging. And he was getting food every day, like popcorn.
Yeah, one would think that, but he was eating a lot of popcorn. He was getting food, he was eating popcorn.
Not connected with Krishna.
Sorry?
Not connected with Krishna enough.
Yeah, he was not connected with Krishna enough, and that goes down to the point, how is that he's not connected with Krishna enough? I'll tell you what he said, okay? He said that my Guru Srila Prabhupada has taught me this, that it is best to serve Krishna sleeping under a tree. Then, if you can best serve Krishna sleeping under a tree, then you should not be attached to sleeping in a palace. Okay? But, if you can best serve Krishna living in a palace, then you should not be attached to living under a tree. So living under a tree is an attachment. So service is the most important thing. We have to direct our activities to Krishna, right? So we can live in a palace, but the service should never be affected. Service is primary. Otherwise, if you sleep under a tree, the attachment for sleeping under the tree develops. Oh, I'm so austere, I sleep on the floor. The attachment develops. Even that kind of attachment is not good attachment, right? So if we can live in comfortable situation, if we are doing materially okay, that is okay, but we need to direct our efforts to service of Krishna. If having an 8-hour sleep helps you to serve Krishna better, then have that 8-hour sleep rather than having a 6 or a 4-hour sleep. It is as simple as that. That's what Srila Prabhupada said. That is most important. One time when Srila Prabhupada had come to India in Vrindavan, all the disciples from other places, no, he was in Kolkata. So the disciples from Vrindavan ran to Kolkata to meet Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada is here, I have to see him. Srila Prabhupada saw them and said, who is in Vrindavan? Who's taking care of Vrindavan? And they had nothing to say. And they had to take the next train and go back to Vrindavan. Right? Because service should not be stopped. Service must go on. So that is what Srila Prabhupada wants, and that is exactly the solution Nārada Muni is giving as well over here. Otherwise, if the service is not happening, we are in illusion. Right? So we have to remember, even if we live in a palace, Krishna is seated in our heart. He understands what our desire is. He completely gets that. Right? Krishna is there are 2 birds in our heart. There is one bird which is constantly eating sweet foods, finds sweetness, eats the bitter fruit finds bitterness. He's constantly, jumping from one branch to another. And there is another bird who's seated in there, and that bird is Krishna. And that bird says, turn to me and I'll give you everything. I will give you myself. I will give you the true immortal sweetness that you're looking for in these insignificant fruits. So just turn to me. So Krishna, who's seated over here, is constantly telling us, please turn to me. So it's very important that we listen to that bird and we turn to him. Right? It says over here, right? We try to lord it over the material nature. That's what we are trying to do. We are trying to jump from here to there. We're trying to lord it over without understanding what Krishna wants. Because we have to understand, without the will of Krishna, nothing's going to happen. We're trying to control all these things, but things won't happen without the will of Krishna. It says that everything is, and it talks about the Supreme Spirit and how Krishna is inconceivable, right? And he can convert spirit into matter and matter into spirit. That's what it says over here. Therefore, a material thing at once, so we have to turn all our material things into spiritual force, right? Simple example, anybody, I hope no one over here likes the Bollywood actor Devanand. I'm going to tell you a pastime, and after that you won't like him.
Is it a pastime?
There's a pastime.
Story.
No, real pastime. Real.
Story. Pastime is only Krishna and
Oh, okay, it's a story. So, if you've heard of the song Dam Maro Dam, right? Back in the day, there was a popular song. Now, what Devanand did was, he spent a lot of time with, he was a life member of ISKCON, and he spent a lot of time with Srila Prabhupada. And he said, I'm making this movie, and devotees will be of great help to me, and can I please spend some time over here with devotees? And it will be very beneficial for the society. Srila Prabhupada said, yes, why not? And then Srila Prabhupada opened the doors to Devanand, the actor Devanand, and he came in and he was spending time with the devotees, filming them, taking all these videos of them. And then the song Dam Maro Dam came, which is all about completely opposite what he was speaking about. It is about all the things we should not be doing. It's about drug addiction, women, and all those different things. It's shown in a very bad manner, and the Mahamantra is spoken in that song as well. But it is shown in a very, in a manner one cannot accept. Right? Now, what was Srila Prabhupada's reaction to that situation? Srila Prabhupada said, firstly, this is a game plan by the government. Government is too scared by us because we are becoming very popular. Because what happened after that was everywhere the devotees used to go, and Harinam or any places, people used to yell Dam Maro Dam and then used to shut the door. So it became a very negative connotation. The Hare Krishna Mahamantra became very negative. But Srila Prabhupada, even during those times, he didn't get frustrated. He was not annoyed. He was not angry. He said, this song might actually become a blessing for us a bit later on. People will forget Dam Maro Dam and they will only remember Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. And that's exactly what happened. A couple of years later, people forgot Dam Maro Dam, and there was this splurge of people who came in and who only sang the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So lesson is, the way Srila Prabhupada reacted even in the moment where it was extremely frustrating. Right? One would think, what is happening? But he didn't get frustrated because of that situation. You know why? Because he was able to convert that matter into spirit. And that is what they are talking about in this purport. Converting matter into spirit. So what is matter? It's almost like, let's understand with the help of a nail. That's how Srila Prabhupada explains. So nail, is nail matter, or is nail, does nail have a life or nail does not have a life?
Depends on what you use for.
Yes. So right, let's understand. So nail is matter, which is a production of life. We produce nail. So we are life, and that is nail is a production of life. So it is matter. When we cut nails, we don't get hurt. We don't feel the pain. But the moment the nail cutter goes a little bit over or a little bit under, we feel the pain. Suddenly on the skin, we feel the pain, right? So it is all about the feeling that makes something matter or makes something spirit. For example, Srila Prabhupada gives an example of an expert electrician. He can use the same electric energy to convert into heat or to convert into a refrigerator. So heating or cooling. So it all depends on us whether we want to stay in the matter or we want to convert that matter into spirit. But that all of that depends on our feelings towards Krishna. The moment we connect to that Krishna, it becomes spiritual. And if we don't connect to Krishna, it becomes material. So I can connect this Apple laptop and this is spiritual right now. I can watch spiritual videos and my mobile is spiritual. But if I connect, if I'm watching something else, if I'm doing, then it becomes material. It doesn't matter. So that's what Prabhupada means when he's saying over here, he talks about spirit. He says, Krishna can convert spirit into matter. Right? Therefore, a material thing so-called is at once turned into a spiritual force by the great will of the Lord. That's what it says in the purport. And the necessary condition for such a change is to employ the so-called matter in the service of the spirit. So we have to employ all the matter that we have in the service of the spirit. Otherwise, even this body is matter. When we employ this body in the service, that is when it becomes spiritual. Otherwise, everything is matter. And the best way it says over here is to employ ourselves in the service of the spirit. That is the way to treat our material diseases and elevate ourselves to the spiritual plane where there is no misery, no lamentation and no fear. So as a teacher, one time I had gone to a school. It was a grade 5 class. I clearly remember this. In a grade 5 class, so I'm a relief teacher, so I don't see the same students every day. Now, as I was walking, because I gave them some sort of work, and as I was walking, there was this guy who was sitting like this, boy, and was saying something. And I didn't understand what. I kept on walking. I came back to that person. He was a little boy in a white body. And I just stood there. I wanted to hear what he's saying. He was actually chanting the Mahamantra, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And I didn't say anything because as a teacher, I'm not meant to be disclosing a lot of things. I didn't say anything, but I was blown away he was chanting that. And I was curious to know why is he chanting that. A couple of days later, I see the same guy on a soccer field. I call him and I speak to him then because it's more in informal setting. And I asked him, were you chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra or was it just I was listening something? And he said, yeah, I was chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. I chanted every night. And I was like, why were you chanting at that day in school? And he said, sometimes I struggle with anxiety. So I chant that mantra and immediately after chanting the mantra, I calm myself. It calms me down. So that very day, what had happened was there was a basketball selection. And out of the many people, he was the only person who didn't get selected. Now just imagine a child in 5th grade was the only boy, because it was inter-school sports, they could not take more kids. He was the only guy who did not get selected. So he was feeling this, he struggles from anxiousness and anxiety. That only triggered. But he was so calm and composed in those moments because of the Mahamantra. And that's exactly what we read now, right? It takes away all your fears, it takes away all your miseries, it takes away all the lamentation when we convert that matter into spirit, when we spiritualize ourselves. And that's exactly that guy did, knowingly or unknowingly. Probably he thinks it's a cure for that sort of anxiety. But it is actually a cure. That's what Nārada Muni says over here. It is a treatment. So just imagine the power of Mahamantra. We chant it every day, but we don't, because we do it every day, we forget sometimes the power of it. It is very powerful. The practices that we are following right now is a very, very powerful practice. It is not a popular choice, but it is so powerful. It is so simple, yet very powerful. And that's why people think it's not powerful, because it's too simple sometimes. But we have to understand it's a very powerful practice. Just imagine that guy was able to find that calmness in that situation where he was the only person not being selected. It's a big deal for them. Even it's a big deal for us as well, right? Just imagine you're the only person who didn't get selected out of the whole crowd. So, in conclusion, I'm just coming towards the end now. Once we convert everything from matter to spiritual, what happens is we see Krishna in everything. And that is what it says towards the very end. And that is where we have to reach. We have to reach to a point where we see Krishna in everything. When our consciousness raises to that level. And that can be achieved by practice. It's not like we get out of this room and we'll be able to see everything. It is by practice. Offered the senior Vaishnavas in our congregation says, when we drink water, we must see Krishna, we must feel Krishna. But that can happen only by practice again. To see and to feel Krishna. And for that experience to happen, we have to take his shelter. Right? We cannot lord it over, we have to take shelter. Even when we believe, there is, you won't believe towards the end. What happens when we put all these things into practice? There was this lady, there was this devotee in Ireland, and towards the final days, she started describing Golok Vrindavan. She started describing, oh, I can see Krishna, I can see Radharani, they are wearing these clothes, they are wearing that. Now, to an idle, to a skeptical mind, one may think, oh, she's only imagining. It's all just imagination. But we have to understand, why would she lie at that stage in her life when she is dying? Why would she lie in that stage where she understands that Krishna is seated in her heart, who understands the truth, and who's going to take charge of her in her final moments? And even if we don't believe what she is saying, we have to understand that if she is able to transcend the pain of the body, she has done something definitely right. At least that much we have to agree to. But there are so many stories, and we can chat about it next time. There's so many stories where in the final days, devotees can see Srila Prabhupada in the room. They can see, sometimes they can see Srila Prabhupada in the room. Sometimes the room becomes really warm. There's a little different sort of fragrance that comes into the room. Some people can see lordships. Sometimes I've heard of a pastime, story which I don't remember exactly, where the person starts to pay obeisances and the son comes and says, why are you paying obeisances? And he says, don't you see there is Krishna standing over here? So there are stories like that, and these are non-fiction, they're real stories. And even if our skeptical mind does not believe it, we have to understand they are transcending some sort of pains, some sort of miseries. So we have to trust them. We have to trust the process. Right? So it is with that I would like to end today's class. That misery is the fact of life. Let's not make that the purpose of life. The purpose is to love and serve Krishna. And then the world's miseries, what's going to happen is they're going to vanquish. We'll start to heal all those pain. And the love will accelerate for Krishna and his devotees. So with that, I would like to conclude this text 33. If you have any questions or comments, reflections, just anything you would like to share. Probably you can share of a situation in your life as well, where you could see Krishna's hand. You have something to say. Yes.
I'd just like to share something that really happened to one of my friends in Sydney. So she has 2 boys, and the younger one was about 5 or 6 years old, and they live very close to the ISKCON temple in Sydney. So they go for darshan at lunchtime for the lunchtime aarti. And one day, the 5-year-old was really looking at the deities intensely, and the mother asked, "Why are you looking like that?" And the little boy said, "Oh, Krishna just came out of the deities and went to everyone who was at the aarti and smiled at everyone, and then went back in." So a 5-year-old saw that, and it just reminded me of
Yes.
the situation you're talking about. And they're not really devotees. They just go to the temple because it's there. So
Yeah, that's the mercy of Krishna, right?
yeah.
Nothing happens without the will of the Lord.
Yeah.
So giving him a spiritual vision. That is amazing. That guy will never forget that.
No. And he's a very naughty boy, but that day he was just very calm and he didn't move. He was just watching, like something is coming out of there.
Reconnection from past life, maybe, I don't know. Thank you for sharing. Beautiful. Anybody else?
Maybe.
No, that's okay. We'll finish this off in a minute. Anybody else would like to share anything? No, any stories? Any where you have felt Krishna in your life? Have you felt Krishna in your life?
We chant every day, so much we do, but still you don't get that connection, like how they get it in, like how
Yes.
this little boy, 5 years boy, he just came to temple and we just come for years and years and months, but we don't feel that connection.
But
there
it's
is a
happening.
connection. Yeah, there is a connection. That's why we come again and again.
Yes.
Like because you have love, so you come
Yes.
again and again.
Yes. I was saying this last time, that if we don't, if I ask you not to chant, you will not be able to. You will want to chant. You won't stop. You can't stop now. So the connection is happening. Sorry, you wanted to say something.
Madhvacharya said, I don't judge anyone by what happens one day. I judge by what they do every day.
Yes.
So when we do something every day, otherwise, one day we can have Krishna darshan, but what happens other days?
Yes.
So we have to understand that we are in the process of sadhana bhakti here. And sadhana bhakti is very important that we perform our sadhana very diligently,
Yes.
no matter what. As they say, endure, do not give up. Endure, do not give up. So we don't get the taste, doesn't matter, still coming.
Yes.
Satchidananda Maharaj writes says one of the reflections that it's like us waiting outside in the room. You're waiting outside the room, and inside there's Krishna, right? And you don't know when the room is going to open. You don't know how long you're going to wait. But then suddenly you see, you feel the fragrance of the incense coming from inside. So Krishna is giving you some indication. Sometimes when we get this, glimpses of, attachment of love towards Krishna, as Krishna is telling us, but we have to wait. We have to wait. So yeah.
Like Nārada Muni waited, right?
Yeah.
He got one darshan, but then he had to wait.
Yeah, and then Krishna says that yes, to increase your love towards me,
Yes.
I will not give you my darshan anymore.
Yes.
And when you talk about the fragrance, I've got something that I remember once that I had this smell of Tulsi Maharani. It was such a strong smell that even though I didn't have it anywhere around me, it's just like that smell. I've got this, now after that smell, I could feel that, that Krishna was with me. The smell was that strong. And it's just like, from that day onwards, my attachment to Tulsi Maharani has increased tenfold. And there's no other fragrance that can rise up to that fragrance of Tulsi Maharani, the manjaris and all
Yes.
that. Just there's just the smell, even the taste of tulsi leaves and all that is like tenfold stronger. And even the smell of roses and all that, now it means nothing compared to what the tulsi mahali smell, the smell.
Yes.
Just having that smell, even when I'm offering that to Krishna, that is just a slight smell of that just makes me, like all my senses
Yes.
starts to get, really get so happy knowing that yes, Krishna has accepted everything. It's beautiful.
Yes. Thank you for sharing. We are actually in, like I said, we are in association of something really divine, which we don't understand, but we are constantly associating with them. And it is very powerful, actually. Thank you, Mataji, for sharing. Okay, I think that's about it then. Have a blissful Sunday, everybody. Thank you so much for joining in online. Hare Krishna, and we will see you tomorrow morning at 6:30.